Hello and welcome to Always Elite. Today we're going to be reviewing AEW Dark and AEW Dynamite. I'm going to start with AEW Dark, but before we do that, why don't you like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon to stay up to date on what's coming up next. First match on AEW Dark from Charleston, West Virginia was Shawn Spears versus Michael Nakazawa. Spears had total control of this match from pretty much start to finish. Nakazawa had his chops and everything else, and there's a funny part where he oiled up and tried to get out of Shawn Spears' grip, but after a few minutes, Shawn Spears just completely dominated him. Spears ends it with a slingshot brainbuster and a pin. That was pretty nasty, the slingshot brainbuster. Next was Big Swole and Mercedes Martinez versus Sadie Gibbs and Allie. Standard women's match, lots of kicks and punches and different little weird things. It was back and forth and neither team had a clear advantage. Sadie Gibbs gives the win with a moonsault and a pin. It was pretty boring, whatever you want to call it. And then the last match was Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy versus Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc. It was a very entertaining match. It was an interesting dynamic with Joey Janela and Jimmy Havoc. Jimmy would pull off his weird stuff, biting and doing all kinds of weird stuff, and Joey didn't like it very much. So those two kind of didn't get along for most of it. But, they took most of the match anyway. It was really weird. Joey finishes Marco with a avalanche package pile driver, which looked nasty. because of Marco's size. It looked worse than it really was, but it looked like he really hurt his neck there. Yeah, what are you going to do? Now we're going to move on to AEW Dynamite. And before we get to that, we're going to get to the talking point of the hour. Cody's life-changing announcement. That was very, very good, by the way. His promo was amazing. He comes out to the ring for his announcement. Cody's entrance never gets old. It's one of the best entrances I've seen in a long time. Cody says that if he doesn't defeat Chris Jericho at Full Gear, that he will never fight for the AEW World Championship again. Not just when Chris Jericho has it, but ever again. And I understand why, because he's got the critics that say that because he's an executive, he has executive privilege and he can do what he wants and blah, blah, blah. But to put that aside, that just goes to show that he is not just an executive, but he's also a performer who is going to be fair about it. Which, I mean, in reality, But after all that is said and done, he calls Jericho a dick for calling his family a bunch of nobodies and a nothing. And after Full Gear, he says that the Elite are coming after the Inner Circle and they're going to bury them alive. Okay. But from this guy's perspective, from that whole promo that he put up, it just seems like they're setting him up to win the title. Which, in my opinion, is a very bad move, PR-wise, because then there's all the critics again, with he's the executive so that he gets privilege, so he can set the match up any way he wants. I say he's going to win the match, but I don't think he's going to win the title. I think he's going to win by nefarious means or a DQ. So he still wins the match, but he doesn't win the title, which would be a better bet for this whole thing, and let Jericho keep it at least another couple of months till the next All In, probably in April or May. Now let's get on with the actual action. First up was Pac and Trent. Pac versus Trent. Great exchange in the beginning with chain wrestling. Those two really do know how to chain wrestle. It's very, very good. After a while, Pac gets his dirty moves in and takes total control. He throws Trent into the barricades and all that. And from there on in, it's pretty much all him. Orange Cassidy gets involved, gets into the ring, does his, famous super kicks. They're funny. You need to see him. If you haven't seen him before, he's freaking hilarious. Although Pac's not impressive and just kicks him out of the ring. That just gets Trent really, really mad. It was a good match all the way through. I thought it was a fine match for an opener. Pac hits the Black Arrow and then puts in the Brutalizer for the win. Now, like I said, next was Codys Announcement. We already talked about that, so we'll move on. Next up was the Dark Order versus Private Party, with the winner getting added to the tag team title match at Full Gear between the Lucha Brothers and SCU. Now, SCU and Lucha Brothers are at commentary for this match. Dark Order just completely takes control from start and pretty much to the finish. Every time Private Party tries to get an advantage or come back, they get stopped. Although the Private Party gets it in the end, as a standard match, one team takes most of the match and then there's the hot tag and Private Party hits the gin and juice and the pin for the win. So that means that Private Party gets added to the title match at Full Gear, which I think is the right move here since they are a hot team. Everybody seems to like them, including myself. Then there was a video package shortly after with Chris Jericho. Basically the same type of video package that Cody did 2 weeks prior. He talks about himself and how he got there and this and that, and he talks about what place he's going to visit after he wins to get his bully. Next was Jamie Hayter and Emmy Sakura versus Shana and Rio. Pretty standard women's match, yet again. It is a TV match, so it wasn't overly dramatic. There was lots of basic moves. Heels take most of the match, which was Hayter and Sakura. Emmy Sakura counters a pin attempt and pins Rio instead. So pretty much they took almost the entire match. Next was Shawn Spears versus Brandon Cutler. So there wasn't much to this match. This match may have lasted 3 minutes at best, maybe 4. Spears just made short work of Brandon Cutler. Gives him a running Death Valley driver. And pins Cutler for the win. There was nothing to it. It was just a straight beatdown. It's a good way to get him over with some heel heat. Then we get to the main event. It is Hangman Page and Kenny Omega versus Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho. Great start with some chain wrestling by Kenny and Sammy, and both of them show their athletic ability in the chain wrestling. They are very skilled at what they do. Obviously, we've seen Kenny elsewhere, so it's back and forth for most of the match. Tables turn after Jake Hager interferes in the match. In the end, Pac interferes in the match for some odd reason with a low blow. And Jericho hits the Judas elbow and a pin for the win. After the match was over, all hell breaks loose. Cody comes down, beats up Sammy, and then gives the crossroads to Jericho. Moxley comes out through the crowd with a barbed wire bat. Kenny grabs a barbed wire broom. Jericho then takes Cody out of the ring. Hager attacks MJF. Santana and Ortiz. I'm sorry. The Young Bucks come out and they super kick Santana and Ortiz, which was kind of ironic since they have a match at Full Gear coming up this Saturday. Let's see. Mox and Omega fight on the ramp. Matt or Nick Jackson, I don't know which one it was, I couldn't tell. Got on top of the scaffolding and then just dove off and jumped down on everybody. And it all went off the air with the two factions staring at each other. That's all I have for you today. I'll be back with you tomorrow with predictions for Full Gear. Till then, always be elite.